Good evening and good night to everyone. This is update for April 24, 2022, day 60 of the war, end of the date update. So first of all, housekeeping, saying sorry for not responding to comments. I was trying to catch up on updating maps and just general research to get more information. I will be doing a response to this, to comments from today's video. So again, thank you for being patient on that. Then second item I would like to discuss is I have idea to structure videos in the following way. First, do kind of short strategic overview of situation, if necessary. If not, then go straight to the walkthrough the front lines, and then answer 3, 4, up to 5 questions from the comments that are most popular or where there is the biggest confusion. So this is kind of idea of the structure of the videos. And feel free to comment if you find this structure useful or propose your own structure. But definitely we're going to keep walks through the front line because that's the core of what we're doing here. So having that said, let's probably look at the overall situation, maybe sort of call it strategic overview of the general situation. So Russia at this point, let's look at the sort of Russian situation and how they view this whole war at this point. Let's say the way the front lines are right now makes them pretty much satisfied, given the whole situation that they didn't manage to take Kyiv, and they abandoned that goal for now. They have not abandoned it for the future, but for now, given the constraint of their own resources, they're happy. So what did they get? They got the water to Crimea, which is control over the Kherson region. They have now land access to Crimea. So essentially they control south of the Zaporizhzhia region and then the south of the Donetsk region. So there is kind of essentially a land bridge to Crimea. So they secured Crimea strategically at this point, right? So that's one of the most important items, tactical items. This is not strategic items, but this is one of the most important tactical items is achieved by them. Then second most important item for them is to squeeze out Ukrainian forces from the remaining part of the Donetsk region, which is here. They essentially squeeze them out of the Luhansk region. There is almost nothing left. So that part is also almost accomplished. So Russian troops need to cut this Donbas salient here, right? And that's what they actively pursuing right now. They continuing punching the hole here from the north near Izyum, and then they started to punch the hole here from the south, and we'll look into those as we go through the front lines. But that's just kind of their sort of call it program minimum. So for them, we're not discussing today about whether this cutting off Donbas salient is achievable. We believe that at this point it's unlikely, but we will probably go more in depth, let's say, next video to discuss that. So that's then about the sort of maximum at this stage of the war, right? What else they would like to get? They would like to get Odessa for sure and Mykolaiv region, basically cut off Ukraine from the sea and connect it with this Transnistria region, which is controlled by Russia. So they just want to kind of another land bridge to the Transnistria and control of the Odessa region and Mykolaiv. And then potentially also capture Dnipropetrovsk region, which is here, which is very important industrial hub and center in Ukraine. So that would really deal a final blow to Ukrainian, final death blow to Ukrainian economy if that happens. So that would be their kind of program maximum at this stage in the war, right? The biggest dream is to get the entire of the Ukraine. So just we want to make it clear, there's no illusion. The goal is to get everything eventually, but they realize that they couldn't get everything at this stage, so they're trying to kind of sort of chew up Ukraine piecemeal. Okay, now let's go back. Let's go now to front lines, walking through front lines, as there are important developments happening specifically at the Izyum bridgehead, and here in the stretch between Gulyaypole and Velyka Novosilka. So let's first quickly look at the Kharkiv area. It's old map, really not very much updated. We didn't get to updating this map, so disregard this kind of portion here in the south. Just we want to do Kharkiv. So as we discussed, so we have more and more confirmation coming up of Ukrainian attack towards this Zhuravlivka here, which failed. So but Ukraine managed to gain control of the grain zone villages on this road, and essentially now controls this road here. So that's all about Kharkiv. Nothing really major there. Let's actually look at the situation with the Izyum bridgehead, which is Russian bridgehead, and then call it like Lyman bridgehead, which is Ukrainian-held bridgehead on the eastern bank of Sievierodonetsk Donetsk river. So this is Sievierodonetsk Donetsk river. This is kind of major river in this region. So what is happening there is Russian forces continue progress, very, very slow, but progress. So they managed to approach outskirts of the village called Velyka Komyshuvakha and attacked it. So far failed, but they're not gonna give up. This is just first attack. They will continue hammering at this village. So as we can even show you from the I thought I kept the previous map so you can see the progress here. So basically this kind of like a salient is kind of now what they gained over this several days. The more dangerous situation is actually here, village Dibrovne, which they captured. Then they attacked towards village of Kurulka here, and then they were finally stopped at the village of Pashkove. So this is kind of, as you can see, really dangerous kind of breakthrough for Ukrainian side. So we'll be watching what's happening here, but it doesn't really looks concerning. Let's put this way. Now let's switch to the progress with this bridgehead, Ukrainian bridgehead on the eastern side of Sievierodonetsk Donetsk river. So there's not really much progress. It's very slow grind for Russian side. So they got stuck a little bit west of here, village of Zarichne, and they on approaching village of Yampil. They haven't even gotten to attacking main town on this bridgehead, which is called Lyman. So they still kind of like approaching, attacking villages that surrounding it. So they're attacking village of Drobyshevo, and this is actually 30th Brigade. This brigade, let's go back here, is from Kyiv East Group. If you remember, we identified that a bunch of these units were like less damage or had suffered lower casualties. That's why we put them in normal white color, and the gray ones are the ones that we identified as having significant casualties during the fighting around Kyiv. So as we can see, Russians are repurposing those units, and they starting to show up on the front lines here in northern part of the Donbas salient. I wouldn't be surprised if the other units start to show up in around on Donbas front lines here. But so far we identified this one. The only surprise was here, as we mentioned before, that we believe that 106 Airborne Division suffered pretty significant losses around Kyiv. However, what we think might be happening is this is just one of the regiments from that suffered least casualties fighting around Kyiv, and that's what's going on there. Probably we don't know for sure. Again, we just want to make it clear that we don't get reports from the general staff of both armies. This is all in research. Okay, so this is as we discussed. So final words on this bridgehead. Russian side is just slowly trying to eliminate. The progress is slow, and we don't think this is the major place where they applied their forces. The main sort of axis of attack is obviously Izyum, and they just simply trying to get south. So as you can see, this is not even on a main road. So which again tells us that here they were blocked pretty well on these major roads, and they just found kind of like a cracks, and they just moved on the kind of like a field roads, and they're trying to attack this village here. So now let's look a little bit at situation to the east and around Sievierodonetsk. So when we showed you map of the control in Rubizhne, we can show it again. So far, there is nothing new here. Ukrainian forces still hold Sievierodonetsk and approaches to it. Another item here is that we would like to clearly explain that 56 and 57 Brigade, they operating here. We don't know exact sort of location of this both brigades. So units are probably very mixed between the two. But basically, both of them kind of defending we kind of created this line to identify the sort of the section of the front line that they are defending. So just want to make clear on that. Here, as you can see, there is a small progress of the Russian troops. They now attacking. They were stopped at the village called Pashkove here on this road, and here the fighting is going on past Rychove somewhere on this road junction, as you can see here. And we can actually look how this is a map of Rubizhne. This is small Ukrainian part, mostly controlled by Russian side. But this is the older map. So you can see that Russian troops managed to get to Rychove here, right? So, and also to this Nizhny. So just again, here's where they are. Nizhny, here's Nizhny, and this is used to be controlled by Ukrainian side, Novotoshkivska, and now they pretty much cleared up Rychove and managed to make some progress here. So that's small kind of like losses here on the Ukrainian side and advances on the Russian side. They're nothing really important. This is just squeezing Ukrainian troops from this Donbas salient. Nothing truly strategically important. So let's now maybe once again look at Popasna, and maybe we'll discuss this Wagner mercenaries, because I was able to look. There was some question about them, just kind of asking people to discuss a little bit more about them and how they operate and everything. So the way, and this is more, detailed map. Look at the Popasna. This is Ukrainian controlled area, and significant portion of the town is controlled by Russian side. So the way they work is they tend to operate as embedded with the main Russian regular troops, and they help them to kind of like spearhead attack and deal with more challenging tasks during the attack. So it in a way is pretty good way of combining regular troops and more kind of like, call it not elite but more daring troops, which allows them the whole system to function better and be more efficient. So that's kind of how so far what we're seeing, how they working. So let's keep going here towards south and around Donetsk area again. Every day there is attacks towards Avdiivka. No major progress for Russian side. So just kind of front lines same, but fierce fighting there. Again, the same goes true for Marinka. Continuous attacks from the Russian side, and now we kind of like just a thought maybe the reason why they doing it, stubbornly attacking day after day. This maybe they would like to create little small pocket run here because there is a lot of Ukrainian troops here and very well developed from engineering point of view defensive line here. So they just want to penetrate it in two places and not to kind of engage it on the whole front line and kind of like encircle and create big sort of gap and then kind of develop operation from there. So this is just the only explanation for this, because there are very heavy casualties on the Russian side of trying to attack these both locations. An additional location is Novomykhailivka, where they're attacking. So they're basically trying to find the weak points in this whole very well fortified defense line here. So now let's look at the stretch of the front line. And this was an updated, we're in process of updating this whole big portion of that map. So let's look what's going on here call it the stretch is between Velyka Novosilka and Gulyaypole. This front line is the most critical one. The Russian side is not really putting much pressure from Gulyaypole to this big artificial lake. It's more or less kind of the same, quiet, and the same goes true from Velyka Novosilka towards Vuhledar. So here as well, more or less stable. So we're almost like 99.9% that where they're gonna be putting their pressure and sort of the axis of the attack is this stretch between Gulyaypole and Novosilka. We will skip. So we just got here. This is also now it's even needs to be updated. We didn't quite update it because we're switching to new approach in doing maps so that it's more efficient, takes less time, and we don't need to redraw maps. So what happened here is basically Russian side is pushed Ukrainian troops more towards around Neskuchne, south of Neskuchne here, and they control, as we discussed, they don't control Zelene Pole, but they kind of created a wedge in Ukrainian defenses essentially. And from our understanding, we don't have confirmation, but they also apparently control Priutne. So Ukrainian front line kind of goes like from Malinivka, Stepove, then Novodarivka here, right? Then Zelene Pole, and then Neskuchne and Novosilka. So that's kind of like what it is. So they kind of created the wedge, as you can see here. And this is, obviously the initial stages of their attempt to encircle. So it's for sure, this is not that so-called big attack that everybody is discussing. This is just Russian side is trying to achieve the goals with the forces that they have at this point in their disposal. So this is not yet the major so-called attack, because we believe that they're still regrouping. They're still trying to replenish their casualties in other units, and then there will be a little bit, much, in our opinion, larger attack. So this is kind of like a preparation for the future major assault, basically. Next, let's just look at the Azovstal very quickly. So again, no major changes. This is the core, as obviously. We can even, and thank you for one of the viewer who helped us to geolocate. So this area is also still controlled by Ukrainian side, basically. That's what it confirms. So as we discussed, was mopped up by Russian side, this area. And again, we're going to go and update all of the maps. Just be patient with us. So really not much to discuss here. This was pretty intelligent decision on the Russian side not to storm Azovstal, in our opinion. Just block it, leave it, and kind of move on. At this point, unfortunately, the density of Russian troops is relatively high, so it will be difficult to do breakout attempt if Azov chooses to do so. From what we're seeing, that seems that they seem to be willing to kind of sit there and kind of fight till the last bullet, which we think is not in not in their interest and not in the interest of Ukraine, but maybe the moment to break out have been lost. This is speculation and just kind of our views on this. You may disagree, and we totally would say, there are other, valid points on this topic. Let's keep going towards this area in Kherson and Mykolaiv region. Here, no news here, with the exception that Russian troops getting a little active and starting doing very local probing attacks towards Ukrainian troops, which kind of tells us that they are gearing up for, to renew their offensive, but they're not ready yet. And we're not seeing any new units here, so this remains to be seen. Okay, this is it for today. Thanks everyone for watching. Thank you for all of your support. We're immensely grateful to everyone who supports us. And please, as I mentioned, please leave your comments. And please leave your comments about the structure, what structure you would prefer, and we'll try to to make changes based on your feedback. Thanks again. Bye bye.